want to thank Pat Merville too over here at Gold Star Families. I got to know Pat when I was a state legislator when we did our Gold Star license plates. Pat's a great leader of our community. Congresswoman and councilors and commissioners, thank you so much for your leadership in our community. We really do live in a place where your folks that you give an opportunity to serve work together. And I've been very honored over the last 7 years to work with a lot of great community servants. So thank you for all the folks that step up to serve our community in elected office. We appreciate you very much. And we're here today to appreciate and to say thank you to our veterans. And I love coming here. I love coming and I love seeing the men and women who have sacrificed, who have come forward, who have said, yes, I will serve this great nation. I will make sure that we have the ability to not only gather on a bluebird sky day in New Mexico, but the fact that we get a chance to experience democracy, that our children and our grandchildren will have that legacy of freedom, and that you will also go out around the world and make sure that others in this great globe that we live on have a chance. And it's really about a chance, isn't it? It's really about making sure that we have warriors that will fight if needed, to give people a chance and to give them an opportunity. So when we come together on Veterans Day and we talk to our veterans, it's a great opportunity to say thank you, yes, for your service as veterans, but we have so many veterans, and every veteran, frankly, does so much more than just that. You know, on a sad note, we just had the 1-year anniversary of the killings, if you will, the murders of Officer Benner and Officer Webster in the city of Albuquerque. And these men were veterans. They were police officers. They did their duty to their country. They stood up and they served as soldiers, but then when they came home, they served our community on the streets, and ultimately, like so many soldiers and too many soldiers, they gave their lives in service to their community. Officer Webster was a 20-year decorated retired veteran from the U.S. Army. He was a combat veteran from Operation Desert Storm and Shield. He was a Bronze Star recipient, gold clusters or oak leaf clusters, Army achievement, it goes on and on. Decorated veteran. Officer Benner was a 22-year veteran of the United States Air Force. He had tours in Afghanistan, meritorious service medals, commendations, 4 oak leaf clusters, the list goes on and on. He was a veteran first, he was a police officer second, he was a servant overall. And I've got some folks that I want to point out. You've got 6,000 employees in the city of Albuquerque. And Ken, thank you so much for mentioning a few of them today. But make sure that this is the best facility of its kind in America. And I want to say thanks for saying thanks to them. We also have some folks in the city of Albuquerque that serve you every day. Peter Ames, I don't think Peter's here today. He's our Chief Information Officer, 10-year Air Force veteran. Mr. Lou Hoffman right over here, whose name you heard earlier, he's your finance guy. He's make sure that when you send your dollars into the city, we take good care of them. He was a U.S. Army engineer, 6 years, Staff Sergeant E6. Paul Castor, the fellow that takes care of all the animals in the city of Albuquerque, also 21-year U.S. Army veteran. And it just goes on and it goes on. And so at the city, what we're trying to do is we're trying to be intentional, and that's what I'm going to ask you to do today. I'm going to ask you to be intentional about what you do. And I've got a fellow named Roger Newell. Where's Roger? Roger, Purple Heart recipient. He's my Veterans Liaison in the city of Albuquerque. And every day we talk about being intentional at the city of Albuquerque, and that's my call to my community today. So today's Veterans Day, and it's awesome that we get a chance to get together and say thank you for an hour. But I want the citizens of Albuquerque and in New Mexico to be intentional every day when you're dealing with your veterans. And that's what Roger's job is, and that's what he does. So last year, I got a chance to stand up here and tell you that based on all the definitions that come out of the federal government, we were able to end veterans homelessness in Albuquerque last year. And that's a great thing. You know what? I'm going to walk out next week or the week after that, and I'm going to meet somebody that's a veteran that needs help and that needs a home. That work never ends. So let's not rest on our laurels there. I'm glad you got a chance to talk about the medical care. One of the biggest problems we have in Albuquerque is our veterans can't get to the VA. They can't get there for their medical care. So Roger and the city of Albuquerque, we came up with a plan. We said, listen, we have a lot of buses in town. If you're a veteran, if you're trying to get to the VA, you can ride the bus for free. We didn't know how many people would use it. You know how many people used it? 600,000 times. In the city of Albuquerque. And I'm not sure what the statistic is, but let's just call it the miss rate. How many times people miss appointments at the VA because they can't get there? We've taken that down to basically zero now in the city of Albuquerque. So we want to thank our friends at the VA for all that they do. But it could be something really simple. It could just be saying thank you to a veteran. I went to pick up my dad this morning to come down here, Army veteran. And I just said, thanks for being my dad, obviously, right? But thanks for being a veteran, Dad. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody else that's here. Because his kid doesn't get to stand up here on a sunny New Mexico day and say thanks if we don't have freedom, and we don't have freedom if we don't have you, and we don't have you if we don't take care of you. So just count on us. And my last request before we get off and hear some great words from the general here is continue to coach us, okay? Continue to coach. All of us electeds that are here today, continue to tell us what you need. We're pretty darn good at getting you things when you need them, but we don't know if you don't tell us. So in my office is Roger. I know Congresswoman's got an entire staff. The county has an entire staff. If you get a hold of one of us, you get a hold of all of us because we're working together for you. So keep coaching us. We'll keep honoring you. And God bless each and every one of you. And God bless this great nation. Thank you.
The benediction will be offered by Chaplain Duncan. Chaplain, before you start, I do want to remind everybody that most of what happens here at this memorial is done by volunteers. I want to thank the Marine Corps League for participating. And I especially want to thank Mother Nature for being kind to us today. For those of you who were here a year ago, you know what I'm talking about. Chaplain.
Would you bow with me in prayer one last time? Eternal God, on this Veterans Day, we are reminded of a tiny cemetery far across the sea, where snow-capped Himalayas pierce the sky. In those mountains is a small grave marker on which are written these words. When you go home, tell them of us and say, we gave all our tomorrows that you might have today. And so we pause to remember those brave warriors and others like them who gave their tomorrows for the ideals we value today, the ideals of freedom, justice, and peace. How many pilots have been lost? How many foxholes were soldiers and Marines' graves? How many sailors died at sea that we might have today? Perhaps we will never fully know the number, but they are known to you, O God, and we ask your mercy that they might be held tightly in your hand and covered with your grace. Renew our spirits and grant us strength to serve you and our country with pride and courage. Comfort those who have lost loved ones in the cause of peace. Equip each of us to persevere and make right the wrong. Prepare us for that time, O God, when the last trumpet will sound, when the last flag will be folded, when the last salute has been given, when all the tomorrows have given way to today. May all who have served and who do serve find peace and strength through your power and your faith. Amen.